Welcoming all our viewers to International Affairs, being broadcasted from the SATV's Gulshan studio. I am, of course, your host, Shamsul Alam Panthu, with the latest updates as we shall be discussing them. Before I step into our discussion, let me introduce my panel. Here in the studio, I have Dr. Ali Ahmed, who is, of course, a former member customs of the National Board of Revenue. I welcome you on to the program. Alongside, I will have our geopolitical correspondent, Norman Floyd Barnes, joining us from Washington, District of Columbia. I want to begin today's discussion just with a simple contrast. We know for a fact that the U.S. CENTCOM is stating they have completed the new wave of strikes on Iran as it takes on to the second day. We see that the U.S. side is stating that they have struck dozens of targets at multiple locations with precision munitions as a part of efforts to reduce Iran's capacities of threatening maritime traffic in the strategic waterway, of course, that is the Strait of Hormuz. In contrary, there is news also coming out that one person was killed and 4 others were injured in a U.S. strike targeting an agricultural water pumping station in Iran's southwestern Khuzestan province, according to a provincial official. Asking Norman Floyd Barnes for the recent updates as I draw this conclusion between the U.S. CENTCOM and the supposed targets in Iran. Some of the updates from your table, Norman. A very good morning to you. How are you analyzing these events?
Yes, today we will start out with the increased attacks by the U.S. To Iran, the southern coast area. And there's been reports that the Iranian government has attacked Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, and Jordan now. So the attacks are intensifying. The infrastructure is now being targeted. Before we had military bases, military sites, communication sites. Now they're targeting infrastructure, critical infrastructure areas. So now the situation has now moved up a notch. We are now waiting to see the response from Iran regarding the infrastructure attacks and the prices of fuel and energy is starting to spike again. So now we are now getting back into the I won't say routine of you hit me, I hit you. And now we're going to see exactly how this thing goes forward. But right now, the Strait of Hormuz is still the subject, the target of all of our issues. Both the United States and Iran have stated that this is a critical area for the energy industry for the world. And both are claiming that they have control of it. But now it's getting to a point where now we may see more military actions, more hostilities, and decrease in the war for the region. So it's not a good thing for the region. Countries are now concerned about their welfare and their livelihood. At the same time, we are still talking about negotiations. So the countries in that region, Egypt and other areas, are now hastily trying to talk about how we can get to a peace deal so we can get to a more stable region. So that's the hot topic right now. The attacks, the increased escalation by the U.S. military regarding that region.
Right. Interesting updates and statements from Norman Floyd Barnes. As I turn to the studio with Ali Ahmed, the U.S. Central Command says that it used one-way attack aerial drones and one-way attack sea drones for the first time in this war with Iran, as they said yesterday. Of course, the deployment of these aerial and naval drones are low-cost unmanned combat attack system. It is called the Lucas system, designed to take off, or if not knock off, the Shahed drones that Iran has. So the warfare has completely changed as of recent times. How are you analyzing the situation on an economic scale, especially because Brent crude oil price has jumped 3%, and of course it is linking up to uncertainty in the coming days? How are you analyzing these issues?
Signs are not good. it is now clear that the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, that American president signed with Iran, with others involved, was a total hoax, or this is how his nature is. But some of the people say it is a hoax in order to mislead the Persians, the Iranians. But it seems it is his nature is like this. Stopped, went, kept on haggling, and then restarted again. And I am sure, understanding and realizing and studying his past behavior, I think he cannot continue any work for a longer time in one go. Maybe he will stop in another 2, 3, 4, 5 days time, and then we will start discussions. But he does not understand, or maybe he understands, but he does not care. This takes away whatever credibility he has in the market. When he offers to talk to the Iranians, again, they will not believe him. Nobody in the whole team or outside it, or those who are the mediators, nobody is going to believe him. So he has lost his credibility totally. And nowadays, although they are they have intensified their bombing of bombing of Iran.
Right.
Iran is not sitting idle. They are sparingly hitting America's bases, especially because America is too far away. But Israel is spared for the time being, as we see from the news media. But the states, the American bases around this place, around the strait, is not being spared. So it is going on. Maybe the expenditure of these munitions is a little more for the Asian side rather than the Americans. But it is going on. There is no sign, as the newsmen have written, I have read this morning, that there is no sign of the Egyptian side, of the Iranian side feeling weakened and slowing down. No, they are going on as they used to do before, not like rains, but they are sparingly throwing all those missiles and other things, including cruise missiles. So it will go on for quite some time till Egypt stops again and proposes for the negotiations, which is going to bring about the same sort of results again. So it is going to be a protracted war, as they call it.
Right. Once again,
Yes.
excellent statements from Ali Ahmed. I want to turn to Norman Floyd Barnes. The conditions of the nations that were negotiating on behalf of Iran and the U.S., we've got Egypt, we've got Qatar, definitely have Pakistan in the mix as well. Them as they are being labeled as West Asia in this regard. I want to get a know-how from you. Iran's top negotiator with the U.S., Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said the era of one-sided deals is over. Amid escalating tensions with the U.S., this comes in as Donald Trump said the ceasefire was over. So even in the commentary, we see the two sides are flaring up once more as we approach the middle of July, 7th month of this year. It has taught us that any kind of uncertainty may prevail. The situation of the negotiation countries are in uncertainty. I would want to ask Norman, how are you seeing their position, because they are not directly involved in launching missiles, if not guarding themselves against incoming missiles, but their economy is affected just the same. Norman, how do you see this?
Yes, the issue is the economy. Missiles, rockets, drones are one thing, but now the real issue is the economy. These countries in the Gulf region, the West Asia region, are suffering, just like here in the United States. We go back and forth with this war. There's a protracted war, like my colleague stated. We're entering a protracted war that's going to go on for a period of time. The leaders, our leaderships in the United States and the leadership in Iran, they are different. They have a different idea exactly how things are going to go, and the trust is not there. It was never there. So now it's showing that we can't trust anything you say. anything you do. So now deals going to have to be made with these countries in the Gulf region, the West Asian region, on how to uh, uh, ensure that their economy doesn't fail. That is the issue right now. It's an economic issue. The energy region is critical for the world. We depend on it so much. Yes, there's alternatives of routes and everything's been done, but the point is the energy must get out there. People depend,
Right.
countries depend on that region. So there has to be alternatives. Why these Iran and U.S. are fighting, people are suffering. The real pain is suffering, and the world economy cannot withstand this stagnation, this between the two. So there will be deals made. There will be conversations made. There will be other alternatives made because it appears that the military part of it is not going to be successful. It's going to cause a lot of damage, a lot of pain, a lot of infrastructure. We may get into a more protracted, back and forth war. But the issue is the economy. The economy of the world has to move forward. So there has to be alternatives, alternative moves, alternative relationships, alternative actions in place in spite of this.
Right.
But till that alternative that our friend is talking about comes, there is going to be, he has also agreed, a protracted war. So the fear could be that in a protracted war, the weaker country economically or militarily normally gives in. But here you must have marked it 2-3 days back, Russia and China very clearly said they are siding with Iran, and so this protracted war is going to be devastating for the whole world. And as it is said in the Western economist circle, that the result of that 1930s economic crisis may again come to the world, and Donald Trump would be responsible for that. And if that comes, unfortunately, it will be bad for everyone, including the US.
Of course.
That is the danger of it.
Excellent discussions happening here in the studio as well as across Zoom with Norman. Of course, the opportunity cost one may face in a protracted war, a long-term war, is definitely going to take a bite out of the economy, also affecting consumers both in those two nations across the region as well as the whole world. We see that the Asian oil markets are jumping because of the 3% increase we see ever since the recent strikes have begun. So, but in about a week's time, we will be able to tell whether or not it will cross the $100 a barrel price. As of now, it is at $80 to $82 a barrel. So it's definitely an eye-opener, especially because the deal of the MOU was to last for 60 days to not break this very understanding, but it did not even last 30 days. So it is definitely ambiguous to see what kind of updates we will get from the Middle Eastern region. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a short commercial break. Afterwards, we will be looking at some of the devastating issues that come about, not from war, but from mistakes, accidents, and definitely climate change. Do stay tuned for more on this very program. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them,
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen,
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks,
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Pantho.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV's screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement.
International Affairs, of course. In the studio, I am joined with Dr. Ali Ahmed, while we have Norman Floyd Barnes joining us from Washington. We were definitely talking about the uncertainties and the risks with a prolonged war that we've been seeing in the Middle East. 3.5 months that have gone by, and we still do not see them coming back to the dialogue table. On the other hand, we know for a fact that there is proxy wars and different allies in different regions that often come out during the various stages of a war. I want to talk about Cuba and its relationship with what we see between America and the decision making that is coming forth regarding Cuba that is seen as a communist nation. I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes. The island nation was struck with a blackout even last weekend that has caused 10 million people to go into the darkness, fourth time this very year. That signals that the country is lacking for power generation. And of course, the Cuban Electric Union confirmed that this outage is ongoing. So I want to ask you how you're feeling about this Cuban crisis. It is a nation that is very touristy, that is very open to the world, very diverse in culture and heritage. But this time around, we see that they are facing blackouts 4 times this very year, affecting millions. So I want to get know-how from you. How do you see this, the Cuba situation as of recent? Norman.
Yes, the Cuban situation is very devastating. It's an island nation, beautiful people, beautiful country. It's going through a situation where actually their blackouts are more frequent than the ones you said. They actually having daily spurts of a power shortage. So they're in a very critical situation in terms of their infrastructure, the livelihood, the health and maintenance of the people, the food, the basic needs. So they're suffering. That's easy to say they are suffering a lot, and the United States is just putting the pressure on on them, and it appears that they're waiting for the government to fail. With that stated, the people are in a crisis situation, and I do not know how this is going to pan out. It appears that there will be a failure in terms of the government there. What do that represent, and how will the U.S. and the Western world respond to that failure? Will they let it completely elapse, and hopefully the people will take over the government? I don't see that scenario working as we move forward anywhere in the world. There has to be something else that propel the people to respond and replace the government, because there's no answers. There's nothing. There's no solutions. No one is offering solutions, help, or a comparable plan to bring the people back, to bring the country back. So it's sad that we're so close. The United States, we're so close, and we are so distant in terms of our response to a country that is obviously in the need of help. And this is far beyond political stuff. I know it is very political part about it, but people are suffering, and as human beings, we need to reach out and try to help a person bridge a gap to basically basic needs of people. People need to live. People need to have their ability. And we have a lot of people, people from Cuba living in the United States, particularly in the southern part, the Florida area.
Right.
So they have people and families suffering back home. They can't get to them, and they can't. The families can't get any aid from them. So it's another nightmare story where we see where politics are now, geopolitics are now destroying economies, destroying communities, and this situation now we're looking at a nation of Cuba being decimated.
Right. Very interesting statements from Norman Floyd Barnes. Let me also add on some of the issues from earlier on this year. The United States began blocking the oil tankers headed to Cuba in February 2026, targeting companies such as the Mexican state-owned Pemex and threatening to stop the responsible countries with tariffs if they resist. According to the New York Times, later in February, this is the United States' first ever effective blockade of Cuba since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Of course, in January, the US President Donald Trump called on Cuba to make a deal before it's too late. Trump subsequently said the US could implement a friendly takeover of Cuba. These are commentary I am taking from online sources, but it's very similar to when you think about Greenland, think about Iran, and this time it is on Cuba. Of course, I want to ask Dr. Ali Ahmed in the studio, how you see the Cuban situation. In contrary, when you look at China, a very big nation here in Asia, they have the Belt and Road Initiative that spans out to multiple economic corridors in multiple nations, only for the economic benefit of the region. But when it comes to America, Cuba is only 90 miles away from the southernmost point of America. Even though that nation is going through an electric crisis, we do not see the support that we could see if from US, if all diplomatic angles were all right. I want to get a know-how from you. How are you seeing this?
It's actually not a lack of support. It is the creation of this difficulty. Now, you know, the Cuba is no longer an independent country. They have, whether it is friendly and soft, they have taken it over. And Donald Trump himself declared that he would be the ruler of the country. So he is ruling it with his people. When they stop oil going there, Cuba, they cannot have their lights in the homes and electricity in the streets, anywhere. And the previous government was friendly and they used to keep them supplying regularly, of course, under international law and everything, through the payments and everything. But now, even payments cannot buy oil from Cuba for Cuba from this country, because the occupying power, USA, is not supplying. They want to throttle Cuba, and they do not want to see Cuba running as a country with its present form of government. This is the worst form of interference and the worst form of inhuman administration. So if they are allowed to buy oil, they do not ask for begging it. They are not allowed to buy it, and so they cannot keep their homes and their hearts warm and lighted. So
Right.
the blame is not only of occupation by USA, it is also a crime. It's a human crime. So this should also be taken note of by the powers that be and by the ICC.
Of course, as important as it is to understand the livelihoods of Cubans who suffer through the blackout, we are also suffering here in our region of Bangladesh. Yesterday I was doing the news covering the flash flood situation in the southern Bangladesh districts of Chittagong. We see that the death toll has risen from 44 to 51, those who have been affected in this recent flood water. It is not because of some kind of dam improvement, if not having neighboring nations opening their dams up to Bangladesh, a delta-rine country, but it is from the overwhelming outpour of rain, outpour of cloudbursts that are happening all over Bangladesh, even in the hilly regions in Chattogram, Rangamati and Bandarban. These places are in the hill tracts, and of course it has flooded various rivers and canals and has taken the lives of many. displacing 1 million and so people. I want to get a know-how from Norman. How are you seeing the situation? It is extended. It is not only in Bangladesh. We see the same situation in China. Parts of southeastern China are facing the brunt of Typhoon Bavi, the most powerful storm to strike mainland China this year. So it is combined effort from global warming to flooding. All of this is having a very drastic effect on the livelihood of people. While governments remain very silent on what they should do, what is the relief management or disaster management, we can all say that sometimes it does overwhelm the governmental structures, if not the infrastructure to a certain degree. How are you seeing this, Norman?
Yes, my commentary on this is very, I'm very, let me be very straight. The conditions of the world, the earth is evolving. I mentioned the other day, the crust of the earth, the surface we live on, is constantly adjusting to what's happening on the surface. We now have knowledge, technology, and means to forecast. We have the ability to know about these floodings, to know about these areas, to know about these high-risk areas. We have that knowledge. We can go to the moon. We can talk about going to Mars. We can do all these other things. We can create trillionaires, but we can't understand and we can't prevent people from dying from being flooded, earthquakes, and other natural disasters, that is current right now. All of these things are affecting the people who do not have, the underserved. The underserved people are suffering from this because our leadership do not see profit in it. The profit in prevention is not there. They prefer to, let's see how it happens, and then we move on and repair on like that. The mindset of prevention is not something that our leadership believe in doing. We know we can build structures to prevent destruction from hurricanes. We can position housing to prevent us from being flooded. We have all this early warning systems. We have this stuff. If we can put a drone into a building and it kill a certain person, we can prevent this. So we have the ability to destroy, but we don't have anything. We don't consider the sanctity of life, the prevention, and the preservation of the people, meaning the people who do not have the wealth. The wealth do not have to worry about this issue. They can move and navigate. They have information. When there's a storm, they know where to go. They can get on their ship. They can get on their plane. They can go to another part of a safe haven. Most people, all the people do not have that ability. All they have is basically their trust in the government. And that is something that is very concerning to me as we move forward geopolitically. The trust of the people is now waning regarding our leadership. This is a global thing, not just the United States, not just, UK, Bangladesh, or the Middle East. It's do the governments, do our elected leaders understand that we have to have peace of mind, we have to have food, we have to have water, we have to have electricity, and we know about the weather related. You have that knowledge now. You show the capability that we have superior intelligence, but you can't prevent or provide a early warning system, a plan to save lives. So that is very concerning that we see these disasters, and these disasters are all basically man-made because these things are going to happen. And they're going to happen. You can have monsoons, you can have hurricanes, you can have typhoons all the time. But you can mitigate the losses and you can almost prevent the loss of life if you want to. And that's the question. Do we want to prevent it, or do we want to just play it out and use it as a justification to make money?
Right,
my
and
word.
that's an excellent statement coming from Norman Floyd Barnes, underscoring the need to remove greed from those who are in power so that it may benefit the society, benefit not only here in Bangladesh, but across its borders from other regions of the world that is recently seeing a bout of flooding that is actually affecting lives from across the world. It is time to take a very short commercial break. Afterwards, we will also look at some of the other impacts that it's having on our society here in Bangladesh. For a fact, I can tell you, students of the higher school examinations, the HSC, is ongoing in certain districts. It's not being able to conduct it due to the environmental disaster as we were discussing. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a very short commercial break. Do stay tuned for more on this very program. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantho.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan
Opening an open war conflict with them.
testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
Welcoming our viewers back onto the last segment of International Affairs. As we are looking at one of the issues stemming here in Bangladesh, it is quite so important to understand where we stay in the situation of the global geopolitics, especially when we have to fight this kind of issues, environmental issues such as flooding. Turning to Dr. Ali Ahmed in the studio, we know for a fact that Bangladesh is a deltarine nation, meaning that any kind of water flow from the Himalaya will be downpoured into the ocean here in Bangladesh. Of course, I want to ask you how you see this, because as I was saying before the break, the HSC examinations are on its way. Chittagong has been cancelled, and as of today, the state district of Kumilla is facing waterlogging. HSC candidates struggle to reach exam halls. A lot of issues coming about this flooding situation. How are you assessing this recent development?
Well, this is a very important development that the whole world is concerned with, but countries like us, the low delta plains like Bangladesh, mud flood, we should be especially careful. But then it's no countries, no one country in the world can tackle it. Needs the entire universe, the entire globe, I should say. And as our friend Mr. Barnes has said very well, that there are government inefficiency, corruption and all that. But beyond that, these glaciers are melting, and it is coming down as enhanced floodwaters to the plains of Bangladesh and countries like us. And then the rising warmth melts those glaciers, and there is a worldwide contract that we cannot do it beyond a certain level. But big countries, the great failures are with China, India, USA and countries like them, who do not follow this agreement to which they were signatories. Their previous governments were signatories. So this has to be done, and at the same time, the government in our country might also think if it should raise the general level of our roads, railways and other things, so that it is not so easily swept away. And the rivers, this is a deltaic plain, lot of silt comes from the Himalayas and upland So the rivers tend to be filled with this silt. So taking the silt away by cutting the rivers, the government of course has initiated a program, but it should be seriously taken by the government, and it should be taken care of by removing the silts from the rivers so that their flow increases. So floodwaters will come down from the Himalayas, but we should make arrangements so that it can flow down to the Bay of Bengal very soon. For example, if you think of Borishal, it is the southernmost district in the bigger Borishal, but there is no flood. Why not? The same water goes from there, but there are many rivers, so it goes down very quickly to the sea, and therefore Borishal does not suffer much from flood, except a little bit here and there and sometimes. So that is the solution for the whole country. Our river bed should be dug out first, and rivers should be made more capable of holding more water, and so that it can take it to the Bay of Bengal, and the road level should be raised and all that. So that takes care of a lot of problems. And above that, the world leaders should make sure that they should not leave themselves only. What about the Bangladesh? They say in about another 100 years or so, even less than that, two-thirds of this country will go down water.
It is correct.
Yeah, it is international calculation, and so is the Bay of Bengal country, the other countries. So we are also human beings. We have a right to live and live comfortably as civilized human beings. So this should be taken care of by the international community. Although very powerful countries like India, China, and these countries, they do not follow these rules. They have agreed to. So this should be done.
Of course, excellent commentary by Ali Ahmed regarding these risks. By some articles written by Johns Hopkins University and their research, it states that climate change will expose Bangladesh to a greater risk. Of course, it states that by 2050, Bangladesh will lose 17% of its territory due to rising sea levels, resulting in the loss of 30% of the country's agricultural land. This is definitely a preliminary research, but it should be an eye-opener for those who are in powerful political positions to understand the need for the people, the need for food safety, and how it will affect Bangladesh as a region. I want to finish this program today. I also want to thank Dr. Ali Ahmed for your contributions and your patience on this very program, your deliberations on various international and national news. Of course, I also want to thank Norman Floyd Barnes for joining us simultaneously on International Affairs. Just before I finish, let me remind you all that it is a national responsibility for every citizen to come out and help those in need, those communities that have been heavily affected in southern Bangladesh, as well as we build towards an inclusive Bangladesh in the coming days. Let me remind you all that every human is worth saving. With that being stated, I am signing off on International Affairs.